Some of you are going to be like, she's above Nimrod? I've been telling you guys. Hey, welcome back to the channel. All right, Battlegrounds is here. We've got our new meta, which is going to be Bulwark. And I think for the vast majority of the player base, Bulwark's going to be the meta for almost the whole season, this whole first season. I'm sure some of folks will eventually start to make it into, I think it's called the Gladiator Circuit or things like that, where the meta changes. Now, I normally do a tier list for these sorts of things, but this meta is so specific. I actually love it that doing a tier list just it didn't feel like it would deliver the nuance it's actually needed and be truly helpful to everyone. So the tier list will continue, but it's going to be a monthly general tier list for you're considering rank ups, and it will work. And I think will be helpful because guess what? For the most part, champions that are very good in that tier list are really good in this meta as long as the meta doesn't exclude them, right? That's why we're not seeing as many cosmic champions. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at how I've broken it down. I'm going to take a look at my deck, and I'm going to talk to you about my top 10 favorites in the dual threat category, attacker category, and defender category. And it's going to be broken down into 3 videos. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, share this. It is all extremely, extremely helpful. The other thing I want to mention is this is all very personalized, and I want this to be in every single video. Please play champions that you're good at or that you're comfortable or you want to get good at. I tried so hard to make like Black Cat fit into this because I do think she could be great in this mode, but I'm just not good with her. There's something not clicking for me. I do like her, but it's just not working. And so as a result, I removed her from my deck, put in other champions, and my performance went significantly, significantly better. Also, I don't have an Archangel. Yes, he could be one of the best attackers in the game. I don't enjoy using him. It works out better for me to have all these dual threats and make sure I'm always banning Archangel. So keep that in mind as you go ahead and watch these videos. All right, now let's go ahead and get to it. All right, now we're going to talk about the dual threats. Hopefully you've already seen my attackers, my defenders, and you've got a sense of kind of how I do things. I really do lean into my deck, try to prioritize my strategy and how I go about it. And often the dual threats, they are the cornerstone. They're the building blocks. They make up the majority of what I'm trying to do because I'm wanting to win 2 out of the matches. I don't need to win both. I just want to win 2 out of the 3. I don't need to win them right in a row. And having dual threats allows me to often do that. If you've caught my streams, you've seen it come into play. Now, I had struggled to actually keep it down to 10. So I'm going to go with 4 honorable mentions. We'll talk about them very briefly and then move into the top 10. The honorable mentions are Mojo, who I really like. He's fine as a defender. I don't think he's amazing, but he's fine. But he helps me handle if there's someone like a Hulkling or a Gallon, and I just don't have the ability to take care of them. He's reducing those buff durations. He gets going. He can cause some problems. A lot of people are not comfortable with fighting him. I've had to fight him a few times, and if the prompts just go wrong, you've got to deal with it. You've got to deal with it. So I like having them on there. And then I'm going to include them together, although they are different, for the dual threats, which is Mole and Kingpin. The reason I have them together is they both have that same issue for an attacker in that you almost need to punish their shrug. You're not sure if they're going to shrug, maybe they are, or they're going to take a while. Kingpin's got a big health pool. Then additionally on offense, again, they are different, but they can dish out real damage in a variety of ways or in different ways. Also can handle a lot of those champions who are putting debuffs on you. And then obviously Mole Man has the True Strike and Kingpin has Unstoppable and Unblockable if and when that's needed. They're both in my deck. I really am happy to use them. I'm glad I've got them. They've won me many, many fights on their own. Now, let's go ahead and jump into number 10. This one is a bit theoretical for me because I do think he's a bit slow. But a couple of things. One, he's a tough fight. Even if you know how to fight him, he's kind of tough. As time goes on, as we learn him, as more options come out, as people start to include those options in their deck, I think Hitmonkey handles him relatively well. That might get easier, but the fact of the matter is he's got so much utility, and if you play him well enough, you can take out big defenders by getting those huge, massive bursts of whiplash. I haven't had a ton of success with him in my own use, but the fact is he's often banned. And when I've used him on attack and it hasn't gone successfully, it's been my own fault. I think he's someone I'm going to be continuing to be happy that I have him on there. He doesn't need to hit the block, all these various things. I think he's really going to continue to at least hold his place as a very valuable dual threat. Time will tell if he ends up just being too slow, though, as we move on. Let's go ahead and go to number 9. All right, if you've already seen my defenders list, you knew that Domino's eventually going to show up here. She's a great defender. Go ahead and check that out. You get her sig up. You know what she's doing. She's crit failing. She's making everyone miserable. But here's the thing. I have very often brought her in, and you can tell she's a deterrent. She's making other players bring in their tech champions, bring in their Nimrods, their warlocks, or what have you, war machines, Omega Sentinels, that whole thing. But then if they don't, or let's say you get stuck, and then you're going up against a Nick Fury, a Mole Man, a Kingpin. I used them against an Agent Venom the other day. Remember that she's not going to punish them for their stuns, and she might crit fail it or whatever. I made that mistake already. But she goes in, she does really nice damage. Campo taught me, he kind of pointed out, look, the SP2 is often triggering the indestructible. So I started throwing those SP1s. Plus, it's, you're getting lucky as you go. She's crit fail damage. I've won a lot of rounds using her on attack. She's not just for defense. Continuing the theme of champions that are more defensive oriented, but can be used. And this is why I love picking them. Penny Parker. She, right now, with my skill set, is potentially my favorite option to attack Nick Furies. You got to play him a specific way. Make sure you use those SP1s to cross him over the bars of power. You ideally want him throwing his SP2s, but you throw those 2 SP1s and you get up to your SP2, you land that, and you've won the fight. And I like it because it's guaranteed, right? She's going to put that heal block. I think you need to make sure she's awakened for this tactic, but it just cancels it out. I'm not a good enough player with Kitty Pryde to get that done reliably against Fury. I don't like having Sunspot in my deck. And I just recently removed Toad, even though I really do like Toad, and he could be, he's an honorable mention for this, actually, now that I think about it. But there's a lot of RNG there. There's a lot of RNG to making sure you have enough poisons up that are active when you trigger Nick's second life, and then you need them to get converted to the passives as well. I love having Penny on stream today. I just got stuck. I was left, and I needed a poison immune. Fortunately, she happened to be there. I think it was a rank 4 I-bomb, so the one SP2 did not kill him, but we did get him down. The defender took enough time. We won the fight. We moved on. She's great. Okay, another champion that should not be surprised, number 7, Nimrod. I've talked to him in the, I think it was the defenders or the attackers. And that's the thing, though, is I actually can't remember exactly which one he's in, because he really could be in both, right? Dual immunities, massive passive shock damage, destroying the mutants. That's just what he does. He's even got like the nice SP3 execute. And ideally, you're not throwing a ton of SP3s with these champions, but I have used that a few times. I'm not advocating it, but if you absolutely need to, he's great. He's fantastic. You can use him offensively or defensively. And then once you pick him, all of a sudden your opponent's like, well, maybe I shouldn't be picking my Domino or other champions. Like, he's that big of a deterrent, both on the offensive and defensive side for you. All right, let's go and move on to number 6. Some of you are going to be like, she's above Nimrod. I've been telling you guys. Think he's a better overall champion slightly for helping you efficiently clear content. We're seeing him used more in war. Sentinel's where it's at. You got to remember her immunities to, I think it's Nullify and Fate Seal. And there's one more in there too. She has a really nice heal block. You can use that for a variety of champions, not just against champions who are currently healing, which is kind of what Nimrod does. You can get her damage going really well. I like her. I like her a ton. I've used her on defense. I think people are still a little unfamiliar with how to fight her. Not being able to armor break her, I think, is also helpful. She can be a bit of a problem. As people learn to fight her, maybe her value as a defender will go down. But as of right now, I'm still finding that she's often banned, or if I place her on defense, people don't really know how to handle her. They don't have an option readily available. And then on offense, like I said, she's got the cowardice there, which is really helpful for champions like Kitty Pryde, the heal block, if you need that heal block going, and then, of course, the really nice plasma or incinerate damage that she can do. Plus, she can save you with her own auto block mechanic. Really love her. Let me know if you're using her too, because I don't think too many folks are. I'm really happy she's in my deck as a dual threat champion. This guy, I love this guy. He's my number 5. I actually wanted to put him higher. I love all these champions, but he's one, he just speaks to me. Like Karate might call him Uncle Hulk, and I'm just going with it, right? He's fun. He's a brute. I've used him on defense to win fights. Of course, is how you get on the dual threat. And then also offensively, I love these champions where their immunities, when they are trying to be triggered, actually powers them up. I've used them to defeat Ebony Maw on stream today. And then I don't remember exactly who we placed him, but I placed him on defense. He won the fight. He came through. He elongated it for us, right? His auto block and all of those things that he has going for him. And then I think it's really nice in this because he's got that, it's not the passive damage, but the extra damage. Once you go into cosmic mode, make sure you're finishing with light attacks. And then you can go ahead and just beat the heck out of your opponent. Like, don't get discouraged if like 20 or 30 seconds in, you're not winning or it's not going as well as you want. Once you trigger that cosmic mode, especially if you let it get to 5 or 6, or if you want, you can throw the SB3, depending on how big the health pool is of the defender. He's going to go in. He's going to destroy it for you. I hope I can get some more of that on stream for you so you all can check it out. I love this guy. He comes up. He's one I'm always wanting to pick. Number 4. I mean, does this guy need any introduction? I mean, just look at that critical resistance. That alone right there is making him a huge deterrent on defense. He's a real problem just for the critical resistance alone. Then, you know, he throws the SB1. He's got his aura up, so you can't finish your specials. You can't finish your heavies. If you decide instead you're going to push him to the SB2 and you don't dex that SB2 properly, you're dead. You know, you're dead. Then you go with the offensive use. Is he destroying fights, nuking them? No, but that's part of why I love this increased health pool meta is you don't need to end fights in 30 seconds. It's allowing more champions, more variety, more different play styles to come into play. The non-contact attacks, you can use him to take on your Korgs. He doesn't even need to always shock a champion, right? He's so versatile in the way you play him. The more skilled you get with him, the better it is. I've found that the more I make mistakes and I learn from him, then I'm prepared to take him into other fights. For me, he comes up, you're almost just like, okay, I've got to pick Doom because he's going to be that good as a defender and as an attacker. Number 3 is Hercules. He's got his weaknesses on defense, and some of this might be highlighted for me because I have so many neutralized champions. I've really put that big on my deck, and if I ever get Wiccan, I think he'll be put in there too for the exact same reason. But Herc is making these fights take a long time, especially if he goes immortal. You've got even more problems. But when he completes his feats of strength, he's going stun immune, which is causing an issue for people because they're taking hits on the block, or if they forget about it, they might even take a combo. Then, of course, you can use him offensively, and he can handle fights for you that he otherwise, you wouldn't even necessarily think he's going to be happening with that extra source of damage. When you get his feats of strength going, if you get into the nice intercept cycle with the, the medium light or the heavy, and you get the infuriate up, you can really start to ramp that up. And sometimes you don't even need to do that. You can take out things. Champions that are really designed to stall the attacker. Herc just gets around. He's that good. He's that good. I'll tell you what, you're probably wondering, like, how could there be 2 champions above him? Let's go ahead and talk about them. All right, number 2 is Rintra. And I think in a slightly different time release of champions, he'd easily be number 1. He is so tough to fight on defense. I've had him be beat once. I think it goes by a Spider-Ham, right? I think those are champions where you need to knock him down. That's what you're wanting to do. But otherwise, and you can't even always do that. He's landing that neutralize, and then the ruptures get up. Plus, he is insanely tanky with his health pool. If you, he can go ahead and do the self root. It's just a real problem. Then offensively, he's got that neutralize up what feels like the whole time. So you can do that thing that the Mystic champions do. You can hit the block, get more power for yourself as your Sig gets going. You can throw the SB1 if you want, if that's just how it's working out. Throw the SB2. Now, the SB2 doesn't often crit. I've had very few fights with Rintra that end in like this miraculous eye-popping 40-second sort of thing. But he's so tanky and he takes so little damage, and then he heals with the self-root that I'm often ending fights at 98, 100%. So even if I take longer than my opponent did, my health pool is, or my current health is so much higher at the end of the fight that I come away with the victory. If you've got a Rintra, don't think twice. Put him in. You'll be very, very happy you do. And then if you've watched the rest of these videos, or if you saw the attacker, I think there's probably no surprise. For me, he just is dominant. He is that dominant of this. Is Gallon. He's that incredible. I think folks really aren't sure on how to fight him. You really do want that neutralized champion. There's not that many neutralized champions in the game right now. So even if you know how to fight him, you don't really have that many options for him. He's going to get the harvest going and do some damage against the attacker regardless. And then go watch the attacker's video if you haven't yet. He's great. He's phenomenal. He's taking fights that he really shouldn't, but that's because of the node. He's meant to handle fights that have armor up. That's part of what he does. He's intended to shine here. He's absolutely dominant. I love the one I always mention, him taking Havoc, getting that fight over before any sort of plasma, any of that stuff can start to happen. He's fantastic. He's awesome. I'm so glad I have him at rank 4. Now, let me know who you're using. Who are your dual threats? Do dual threats play as big of a role in your deck as mine do? Because they are integral to mine. Huge part of how I'm going about this whole Battlegrounds process, and I really like it. I hope you've attended some of my streams and you can see how well it can work, and it can help you overcome some maybe not great drafting or maybe some not so great gameplay. It's because your deck is just so strong, and then your opponent gets to round 3 and they really don't know what to do because you've got all the bases covered. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this series, and I hope you find it very, very helpful as you spend the next 3 weeks in the Bulwark meta. Thanks for watching. Take care.
I hope you either learned something, were entertained, or even better, a little bit of both. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.